Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a bonus episode of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durk as per usual. So, today we got another guest. We got former MLS All-Star, former Belgian League champion, the man with the mustache on Apple TV's MLS 360, Sacha Kljestan. Sasha, thanks for coming on.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
We brought you on to talk a bit of Vancouver Whitecaps and MLS. So, Whitecaps still undefeated to start the season. A bit of a slow start, but what have you liked so far from Vancouver?
Well, more of the same from last season, where I think they really started to flourish, under the new head coach. Sorensen, I think he's been great. And I think there's been a lot of continuity for this team over the last few years, which now is coming to fruition. And I'm always still excited about when Ryan Gauld can come back and see where he fits back into this team. He was playing close to an MVP type level before his injury. And if you can add him in and find a way to get him and Thomas Mueller on the field at the same time, it's pretty exciting times in Vancouver.
Trust me, we're waiting on when we get Ryan Gold back too. One of the things you talked about continuity, but one of the big changes was out on the left wing. Ali Ahmed going off to greener pastures in England, Jay Nelson going off to the green of Austin.
Yeah.
They've brought in a number of players into that position. Sabal is there. Izzy has been working out quite well so far. But that's also the position that when Ryan Gauld did come back for a little bit in the offseason where he was trying to fit himself. Have they solidified that position, or have they almost brought in too much?
No, I don't think you can have too much. I think you've got good depth pieces now. Maybe nobody who is at the exact same kind of caliber as Ali Ahmed, who was so comfortable playing in that specific spot and was so good at beating people off the dribble, but also helping on defense as well, being a really good two-way player. So AZ, I think, has had a nice bright start to his career in Vancouver, which is very welcome, I'm sure, which is a good thing for that club. And I think if Sabi keeps coming along, he's got the qualities to kind of carry the team on that right side with the way that he played. Even in MLS Cup, he really showed that he's got so much individual quality that when you play in this type of formation, you need your wingers to be able to beat people off the dribble, and Sabi's got that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the depth of the Whitecaps, and what did you make of the rise of certain key players that normally wouldn't be on the team sheet, like a Jeevan Badwal or Ralph Priso, midfielder turned center back?
Yeah, I think Ralph Priso has been the most surprising in a good way towards the end of last season, moving into that center back role when there were so many injuries along the back line for Vancouver, and really stepped up and showed his quality in a lot of those games, and showed that he's a very smart player. And he's bounced around a little bit in his young career, but I think he's found a good home, and should be pushing to try to get back into the Canadian national team, maybe for a spot in the World Cup, because he's got those qualities that he could play in midfield or he could play in the back line. And then you've got some young players. I was Jesse Marsh and the Canadian national team asked me to come fill in for a friendly game because he wanted to play an inter squad scrimmage, and they were 15 minutes from my house, and he needed an extra guy. So I went and played, and I played underneath Alumi, the young striker. And having seen him play in bits and pieces, I thought he had some quality, but then playing next to him for a young man, he's got some real talent. And so, listen, I know that's Brian White's spot, but with a lot of games coming up, this young man, I think, is going to have a bright future for Vancouver, and going to play an important piece this year as well.
I think the one thing we know about Brian White is chances are he's going to spend part of the season in the injury room. It just seems to happen. So Alumi is definitely going to get his chance.
Yeah.
You talked about the consistency and a lot of those young guys that are coming up. How much of that credit has to go to someone like an Axel Schuster for slowly building this team and not trying to kind of rewrite the script overnight? He's kind of done it very consistently over, say, 3 years.
Yeah, listen, the best teams I think in MLS are the teams, or the best clubs, I should say, are the ones that give your sporting director and give your coaches time to build, right? And so I think Schuster's done a very good job of slowly building this team over the course of years, where he brought in some young guys. They weren't really the finished product yet, but over the course of a few seasons, the main core group of this Vancouver team has now been together. When I think about Tristan Blackman, Laborda, Brian White, Kubas. Berhalter was new, but he's really fit in and kind of become a leader as well. There's a lot of guys that have been there for a while. Takaoka now a couple of seasons. Um, that helps, and that's fun for the players then also because they form that core group of leadership, and then you've been with these guys for a few years and you have that bond. It's more fun to win together with guys that you really like and you enjoy being around. And so I think he's done a very good job of building this squad. And then getting Thomas Mueller kind of seemed to be like the icing on the cake last season that I don't think anybody in Vancouver, out of Vancouver, around
Nope.
MLS, expected that they would be the club that could get Thomas Mueller. So very, very cool, very exciting. And I think the fans, I mean, you guys know more than me, but it seems like the city of Vancouver is really behind the team right now. And it's fun to be a fan of the Whitecaps.
Oh yeah, 100%. The Whitecaps, Vancouver is a soccer city right now. And just from the outside, we know all about the Thomas Muller effect here in Vancouver. No one expected this in a million years, but just what have you seen from the Thomas Muller effect? Does this effect extend beyond Vancouver like Son does for LAFC or Messi for Miami?
I think each in their own individual market, the most important thing, first and foremost, is they help their team get better. Those three guys that you mentioned. That's got to be the most important thing so that winning games still matters. Now, can you move the needle in different ways that people talk about you outside of the normal little soccer worlds and you grow your club? And the other big thing that I can say that Thomas Mueller has done is he's a winner, right? He's won everything he's played in his entire career, so he's used to winning. And so I think when he shows up in Vancouver, it's not like, oh, we're going on the road to Salt Lake this weekend. Let's hope for a draw. It's no, we're going to win that game. No matter where you play, he plays to win. And that leadership and that belief that he has, I think, can start to permeate throughout the rest of the group, which we saw in the second half of the season. Vancouver just seemed to have so much confidence. And I think a lot of that comes down to just the way Thomas Mueller is. Obviously, he jokes around a lot. This dude's very funny. He's got a great personality. But I think within the 90 minutes on the pitch and in the training ground, probably every day, he drives that winning mentality.
There's a group of podcasters throughout the United States and Canada, and we all kind of talk to each other. And a friend of mine from LA actually sent me a picture from a kid's birthday party of someone wearing a Whitecaps Thomas Mueller shirt down there.
Wow.
So it is extending, which was pretty surprising. You talked about the excitement of Vancouver, the fans being behind the team and how exciting it is, but it's also kind of a scary time for Vancouver fans right now. We don't know if this team's going to be here next year. We were worrying about that last year too, with the team going up for sale.
Yeah.
I was wondering with the news that came out of Chicago the other day of like, shovels in the ground, that stadium getting done, does that put pressure on Vancouver?
I think so, yes. But I do think that Major League Soccer and Don Garber and everybody, they want Vancouver Whitecaps to stay in Vancouver and find a really good ownership group that wants to build a stadium, I think, and grow the club the way it can keep up with the rest of these other big clubs in MLS. The new stadium in New York City is going to be unbelievable. I can't wait for that. This one in Chicago looks gorgeous. Miami's opening theirs next month. That's going to be amazing. This is the way of the future, right? This is the
Yeah.
this is the modern Major League Soccer now that we're like 30 years in. And Vancouver needs to find I think a new ownership group that's going to help this club stay there. The fans will be behind it, build a beautiful new stadium, and we'll be talking about the Whitecaps for decades to come.
From your mouth.
Yeah, so Whitecaps have a game in Portland this weekend. Speaking of, the future, just looking at Portland, what do you see from them? Last week, 2-0 loss in Colorado, where set pieces were kind of the downfall. Just does it feel like there's another lackluster season for Portland? And is Phil Neville's job on the hot seat?
I think I think often whoever the coach of Portland is, there's pressure that comes with that because they've got a very good fan base. They always support their team and they've had success in the past, making a couple of MLS Cups in the past 10 years. So um, they've been mediocre for 4 or 5 years now, right? And they've kind of finished in that 8 to 10 spot like every season for the past 4 years. So yeah, there's definitely going to be pressure there. Their team I don't think they just have that much quality right now. They don't have a good number nine striker that they can rely on. They've been playing Gage Guerra as the striker. He's a young kid. He's not very experienced. Mora is kind of playing a little bit underneath him right now. Is it time for Diego Chara to let it go, or for someone like Phil Neville to tell him it's time to let it go and start moving on? I think the signing of Cole Bassett was good, but that doesn't move the needle. I just think they're another mediocre team this season, and I think the Whitecaps should be thinking they're going down there to win this weekend.
I think that's the mentality the Whitecaps have when they go anytime they go down to Portland. And that even goes back to a couple of seasons ago when we had that awkward playoff match and we had
Yep.
to play the home game in Portland.
Yep.
And I think there was a bit of a chip on the shoulder of Whitecaps fans going down to win 5-0 on someone else's turf.
Yep.
We talked about Portland. I want to know, how do the Whitecaps stack up to the rest of the Western Conference? Because they tied on points last year with San Diego. I think it was by goal difference. I think no, not goal difference, wins that I think San Diego got the conference title, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you see them kind of being in that top one too, or is it kind of like say first to fourth or sixth more realistic?
No, no, no. I would put a top three right
Okay.
now in the West as in no particular order: San Diego, Vancouver, and LAFC. I think
Yeah.
those are the top three. I think they'll be there all season, and I think they'll be there in the end. But as I think back to last year, you start to realize now more than ever in Major League Soccer that every game really matters. And if you remember on decision day, when the Whitecaps lost at home to FC Dallas, they would have hosted MLS Cup had they won that game. And that ended up, not being the difference. Miami's Miami, but playing at home is a lot easier than playing on the road, especially on a trip that far. You
Yeah.
play on your own pitch that you're used to and stuff like that. So I think the best teams in MLS recognize that now, that every game matters, every point matters, every win matters, because you want to play your playoff games at home in the biggest moments. I mean, that game against LAFC that they played at home in the playoffs was remarkable. It was a crazy game, but in the end, awesome for Vancouver. So I do think that's the top three in the West. I think those three will be there all season. They are the strongest. They've built the best rosters. They've got good coaches. They've got difference makers. I'm excited to see how it all pans out in the end.
And we'll talk about your career a little bit, playing in MLS, which started with Chivas USA and ended with LA Galaxy. So both in the LA area, kind of like full circle. So you played in MLS in Belgium. So just what are some of the highlights of your playing career?
There's a ton. My favorite part of my playing career was playing for Anderlecht in Belgium. We won the title 3 years in a row, and getting to play in the Champions League and test myself against some of the best in the world. That was amazing. In New York, having such a great team, a great group of guys. We won the Supporter Shield, and people I still keep in touch with to this day. I think that's the most important thing when I look back on my career. Yes, I enjoyed the games. There's nothing like it. I miss it every day. I wish I would give to play in one more game, of course, but all these relationships that I have with people all over the world now that I can still chat with, and we reminisce about the good old days, and when I see people I haven't seen in 10 years, but I spent 5 years of my career in a locker room with them, it's like no time has missed out. And in the end, I cherish all the memories from my career, playing in the Olympics with the national team, World Cup qualifiers, all that good stuff. I feel very lucky to have lived the life that I've lived so far, and played in the games that I got to play in.
You pick up any of the language when you're over in Belgium?
Yeah, I speak a bit of French, and then I can
Okay.
understand a bit of Flemish. And so anytime I don't get to use my French that much anymore, but whenever I can, I try to practice it.
They got
And
to
this
do a
is
game in Montreal.
Yeah, yeah.
and this is one of my favorite stories regarding you. So apparently Zlatan Ibrahimovic called out your mustache, which I don't know what he was thinking. I think it looks glorious. And then you later said something on the lines of he should see his nose or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I also had some inside knowledge that he was self-conscious about the size of his nose. I played with some guys on the Swedish national team who had given me a little bit of ammo. So when he came at me, I was ready to come right back at him. And he was a very good shit talker. So I'll put it that way. And he's very intimidating because I mean, I'm a big guy. He's much bigger than me. And obviously, he's a fantastic player. When we played PSG in that game, we drew away 1-1, and he scored, I assisted. It was a really, really high level game. But like a month before that, they came to our stadium at Anderlecht and they beat us 5-0, and Zlatan scored four, and including a first half hat trick in about the first 30 minutes, in which our crowd gave him a standing ovation. It's the only time I saw it in my whole career where the home crowd gave a standing ovation to an away player, which was, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now because, like, what a cool moment for him. And I've seen him talk about that in the past as well, about how cool that was for him. Iconic moment, iconic player, and good shit talker.
A good way to end it.
Yeah, so you can catch Sacha on MLS 360 of Apple TV. Just starting to get used. It's not MLS Season Pass anymore. It's Apple TV. So, Sacha, thanks for coming on and enjoy the games this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Every Saturday night, MLS 360. If your team's not playing, tune in. All the goals, all the action, lots of good banter between friends. It's like having a beer and watching the game with us.
Cheers, sir. Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Sacha. And that'll conclude this bonus episode.